I put this blog together on the days following the 2014 midterm elections. I've been hearing joyous conservative broadcasters gloating about what a great victory this is for the Republicans. I'm just not so sure that's what this is. I'm not so sure that this was so much a victory for the Republicans as it was a good old-fashioned smackdown on the radical leftist agenda that Obama and his cronies have been shoving down our throats for the last 6 years. To me, it looks like the silent majority got fed up. To me, it looks like they've said, that's enough of this garbage. You're out of here. On a positive side, Tuesday's landslide, a real positive side, Tuesday's landslide reaffirms to me the fact that there's still a lot of hope for our representative republic. It reaffirms for me that while our system of government is inefficient, badly flawed, it is indeed the best form of government yet devised by mankind. It is indeed a form of government that is of, by, and for the people, not the ruling elite. Let me start my reflections on the results by saying that I hope that the Republican leaders will limit their smirking long enough to realize that while there were a whole lot of folks who did indeed vote for you, I sense that the bulk of this landslide resulted from voters, in their minds, choosing the lesser of two evils. Now, the preponderance of negative political ads tells me that you politicians know in your heart that this is indeed a prime motivation for a whole lot of voters. So beware, Republicans. Don't set yourself up to be the lesser of two evils in the next contest. Now, one outcome that any conservative will just absolutely love in this election is that Harry Reid is no longer going to be the Senate Majority Leader. When the Republican landslide became inevitable, Senator Reid sent a congratulatory message to Mitch McConnell on Mr. McConnell's reelection, and I'd like to quote some of this message. Mr. Reid said, "I'd like to congratulate Senator McConnell, who will be the new Senate Majority Leader. The message from voters is clear. They want us to work together. I look forward to working with Senator McConnell to get things done for the middle class." End quote. Well, first of all, Harry, did it cross your mind that the message from voters might be that they're fed up with your message? Maybe they don't want you to work with the other side of the aisle. Maybe they want you to pack it up and get out of Dodge. I do also think that it's just absolutely astonishing that you've decided that you want to work with Republicans. Harry, where have you been for 6 years? You've done nothing but play partisan hardball, and now you hope that you can work with Republicans to get things done. My guess is that now that you are the minority, you'll be squealing like a stuck pig if that same technique is used on you. And frankly, it's my sincere hope that the Republicans do not use the same technique on you. As despicable as I find you, your voice should be heard. You're an elected official. You're an elected representative from your state. Now, that would be how a functioning democracy should work. Your behavior is part of why this has been a dysfunctional democracy for the last 6 years. However, Harry, it's not you that I worry about the most. Your boss, on the other hand, has an abysmal record of working with anyone who holds an opposing view. In all fairness, Mr. Obama really doesn't have any experience in compromise. Hey, he's a product of Chicago politics. There's no opposing party in Chicago. There's no one you need to compromise with. It's understandable why Mr. Obama doesn't play well with others. Oh, yeah, he was touted himself as the Great Unifier. Let me quote a March 2008 campaign speech from Mr. Obama. "We need a leader who can finally move beyond the divisive politics of Washington and bring Democrats, Independents, and Republicans together to get things done." Wow. Move beyond divisive politics? Kind of missed the mark there, didn't you, Mr. President? Okay, moving forward. Let's get something closer in time now. Wednesday, when it was evident that the Democrats were taking a good old ass whooping, Mr. Obama spoke in another press conference, and I'm going to quote him. "I'm eager to work with the new Congress to make the next 2 years as productive as possible." The next 2 years, productive as possible. Sound familiar? You know, Mr. President, when you make statements like this, I think it would be wise that we look at your wording very carefully. I remember when you told us 6 years ago that you were going to radically or fundamentally change America. I guess we should have asked back then, exactly what do you mean by that? So you have to wonder, what is President Obama's definition of productive as possible for the next 2 years? Well, it's painfully obvious that Mr. Obama finds radical left-wing ideology as being productive. And via observation of his presidency, he seems to also find throwing the opposition under the bus to be as productive as possible. Now, he went on to say in this press conference, one last quote from Mr. Obama, "I'm committed to making sure that I measure ideas not by whether they're from Democrats or Republicans, but by whether they work for the American people." Whether they work for the American people, end quote. And once again, you have to ask yourself, what does he think works for the American people? Now, we've seen some examples of what our sitting president considers to be things that work for the American people. Let's look at his most grand domestic legacy, this so-called Affordable Care Act. Well, this 11 million word, 10,000 page bureaucratic nightmare was jammed down the throats of our nation without so much as a single debate in our Congress. There was no moving beyond divisive politics of Washington here. In fact, this was one of the worst examples ever of divisive politics. There was no bringing Democrats and independents and Republicans together here. This bill was passed with a "you can't stop me" bully tactic. You also need to ask yourself, what does Mr. Obama think works for the American people in foreign policy? Well, so far we've seen a legacy in foreign affairs that will probably never be duplicated. I cannot imagine another sitting president doing so much to reduce our influence in world affairs and to aid those who hate us and our way of life. The man who was elected to be the commander-in-chief of the most powerful nation on earth seems to be embarrassed by that power. Rather than use that power to promote good where there is evil, he chooses to take the position that it is America who is evil. These are the things that Barack Obama seems to think will work for the American people. Now, I know there's some of you out here that are saying that this is just an old cynic, and I'm hatching my fears on Mr. Obama about getting things together. And frankly, sometimes I worry that I may indeed be too pessimistic. Then Wednesday night, I turned on CNN. Well, the first headline that I saw Wednesday evening was that President Obama is ready to work with the new Republican majority. Hey, there's that getting together stuff again. CNN is reassuring us that he is indeed the Great Unifier. The very next headline that I see, is that President Obama is ready to take executive action on immigration. No suggestion of getting together here. So let me guess. If the Republicans put up any kind of an objection, we'll see our president and his supporters in the press play the big old race card. Yep, those Republicans are not cooperating on immigration because they're racists. Well, my fear is that over the next 2 years, every veto that he signs, every agenda that he tries to push through with executive action, will be positioned by Mr. Obama and his extreme left-wing comrades as a failure by the Republican Congress. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I sincerely do. But I fear that things are going to get far worse in the next 2 years. I fear that the time-tested strategy of divide and conquer will be in full bloom. Under the rule of this Great Unifier, this old man has seen wider divides between the American public than I've ever seen since Vietnam and the dark days of segregation. We need to be strong. We need to be wise, because without a free America, there is no free world. If the radical left socialists win this war, and yes, it is a war, the left has engaged in a crusade against liberty, freedom, and the capitalist system that has given us our prosperity. If the left wins here, there's no free America. Republicans, please worry more about the future of America and less about your own re-election. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.